When the news broke that Ace Frehley, the legendary Spaceman of Kiss, had passed away, the world seemed to fall into silence. Fans everywhere froze in disbelief, not only mourning a musician, but a man who had redefined what it meant to be a rock star, reckless, brilliant, flawed, and unforgettable. For decades, Ace had been the face of rebellion wrapped in silver makeup and fire-breathing solos, a cosmic wanderer who carried his guitar like a weapon against conformity. His death wasn't just the loss of a musician, it was the closing of an era that began in the smoky bars of New York City and exploded into stadiums filled with millions. But what truly stunned everyone wasn't just the passing of Ace, it was the reaction from Gene Simmons. The man who had long been known for his business-first attitude, his cold demeanor, and his often unfiltered remarks about his former bandmates did something no one expected. He broke down. Gene's words were not the sharp, distant statements of a rock businessman. They were the heartfelt reflections of a man who had just lost a brother. Ace was more than a bandmate, Gene said in a trembling voice. He was a part of my soul, the spark that helped make Kiss what it became. We fought, we drifted apart, but we were bound by something that time couldn't destroy. I'll never forget him. For a man like Gene, who had built his image on control and composure, that moment revealed something deeper, a layer of raw humanity that fame had long buried. In the final days before his death, Ace had been living quietly, away from the chaos of fame that once consumed him. The endless parties, the flashing cameras, the late-night tours, they had all faded into distant echoes. He spent his last years surrounded by guitars, vinyl records, and memories of the music that once changed the world. Those close to him said he'd often smile while looking at old photos of Kiss in their prime. 4 young dreamers in black and silver, defying everything and everyone. But the years had taken their toll. Addiction, health issues, and the wear of a life lived loud had slowly dimmed his once burning fire. When he was hospitalized, doctors knew he was tired, but Ace himself seemed at peace. He told one friend, "If my time comes, I just want people to remember the music, not the mistakes." And when life support was finally removed, there was no chaos, no drama, just a quiet farewell from a man who had already made peace with the stars he once sang about. As the world tried to process the loss, Gene Simmons, who had once been Ace's harshest critic, shocked everyone with his grief. Over the years, Gene had often dismissed Ace's struggles with addiction and unreliability, claiming that Kiss could survive without him. But now, as reality set in, Gene's words came with the weight of regret. He released a public statement, but it wasn't polished or filtered. It was raw. "We went through hell together," he wrote. "But without Ace, there would have been no magic. The riffs, the swagger, the madness, that was him. He brought the chaos that made Kiss real." In that one moment, the man known for his iron heart finally showed cracks of sorrow. It was a confession that perhaps he had taken too long to say, a recognition that some bonds run deeper than contracts or fame. To understand the gravity of Gene's words, you have to go back to where it all began. In the early 1970s, Kiss wasn't a phenomenon yet. It was just 4 hungry musicians chasing a dream in New York. Gene Simmons, the disciplined perfectionist; Paul Stanley, the charismatic performer; Peter Criss, the soul; and Ace Frehley, the unpredictable spark. When Ace walked into that audition wearing mismatched shoes and carrying an aura of mischief, the band knew they'd found their missing piece. His guitar wasn't just loud, it was alive. He made the instrument scream, cry, and laugh, often all in one solo. And when he strapped on his costume as the Spaceman, it fit perfectly. Ace was never pretending to be something he wasn't. He truly lived in his own galaxy. His humor, his wild energy, and his raw authenticity gave Kiss a balance that no one else could replicate. But fame is a dangerous friend. The very chemistry that made Kiss unstoppable eventually became the force that tore them apart. Gene, the relentless businessman, wanted control, precision, and order. Ace, the free spirit, wanted chaos, freedom, and art. Their clashes offstage became legendary, sometimes funny, sometimes heartbreaking. As the money grew, so did the distance. Gene would often shake his head at Ace's unpredictable behavior, while Ace would accuse Gene of losing touch with the music. The tension eventually cracked the foundation, leading to Ace's departure in the early 1980s. Though Kiss continued with new faces and new sounds, fans knew something was missing. The magic that came from Gene's fire and Ace's starlight could never be recreated. Years passed, and both men built their own worlds. Gene became the face of Kiss's empire, the businessman, the icon, the symbol of control. Ace became the outlaw, the one who walked away but never stopped being loved. There were moments of reunion, flashes of old magic when they shared the stage again, but the old wounds were never fully healed. Interviews often reignited the tension. Gene criticizing Ace's reliability, Ace mocking Gene's ego. Yet beneath it all there was something neither could erase, the unspoken respect between two men who had built something that changed rock history forever. When Ace passed, that respect came flooding back. For Gene, it wasn't about the arguments, the missed shows, or the old interviews. It was about two kids who once dreamed of conquering the world and somehow did. His message to fans was clear. We didn't always get along, but we always understood each other. In a rare interview after Ace's funeral, Gene said quietly, "I never told him enough how much he meant to me. The world will talk about Kiss for 100 years, but there will never be another Ace Frehley." Those words, coming from a man who rarely shows emotion, struck a chord with millions. Across the world, tributes poured in. Fans gathered outside Madison Square Garden with candles and guitars. Musicians who had been inspired by Ace, from punk guitarists to metal legends, shared how his sound had shaped them. Old bandmates reunited in grief, setting aside years of silence. Paul Stanley posted a single photo of the original Kiss lineup with the caption, "The universe is a little quieter tonight." It wasn't just the end of a life, it was the closing of a chapter in rock mythology. For Gene, the loss forced reflection. In a later interview, he said, "We all wear masks. Some of us keep them on too long." It was as if Ace's death had peeled away the final layer of the Gene Simmons persona, revealing the man behind the makeup, the one who missed his friend. And maybe that's the real legacy Ace left behind. Not just a catalogue of unforgettable riffs, but a reminder that even the biggest stars are still human beneath the glitter. In the end, Ace Frehley's journey was a cosmic one. From the smoky bars of the Bronx to the biggest stages on Earth, from laughter to loneliness, from chaos to peace. And Gene Simmons, the man who once built walls to protect his empire, finally let them fall, even if just for a moment. As Gene stood silently at Ace's memorial, surrounded by fans singing "Shock Me" under their breath, one could almost imagine Ace looking down with that crooked grin, saying, "Took you long enough. Demon." The crowd didn't just mourn that night, they celebrated. They remembered the sound of a guitar that could touch the stars, the man who dared to be different, and the brotherhood that, despite everything, had never truly died. Because legends like Ace Frehley don't fade away. They just return to the stars they came from, and somewhere out there the Spaceman still plays on.